Good evening and welcome everyone to the book release party on these digital streets for the one, the only Juju Bae. It's giving the Book of Juju, babes. Africana spirituality for healing, liberation, and self discovery. Clap it up for yourselves for being in this space. We want to put names, we want to put pronouns, we want to put locations in the comments because when Juju steps to the stage, we want to know who's in the space with us. So go ahead and start to put them in, okay, babes? Real quick, this general chat, this is where all the tea and the kiki is going to go, okay? So if you like, yes, you know what I'm saying? Then that's going to go in the chat. If by chance spirit moves you and you have a question, if you look to the right of the chat, there's a question box inside of a text box. That is where you're going to put your questions for Juju. So we'll start out with 45 minutes of conversation with the author, and then we'll have a 15-minute Q&A. So keep the chat live, okay? But the questions go in the question mark text box on the right. All right. All right, beloved ones. My name is Lyvonne Briggs, and I am elated, honored, turned, okay, to be bringing to the stage the woman, the being, the creature, the goddess, the bad bitch witch, the one who channeled this incredible book. I know y'all are initiated, but just in case, we're gonna make it official. So Juju Bae is a Baltimore native. Juju Bae is the host of the iHeartRadio Award nominated podcast, A Little Juju Podcast. Juju Bae is a cast member of the Hulu series Living for the Dead. And I'm going to just name it and claim it. The star of the Living for the Dead spinoff, The Book of Juju. Okay, period. And most recently, June 18, 2024, the author of The Book of Juju, the best-selling author of the Book of Juju, Africana Spirituality for Healing, Liberation, and Self-Discovery. I want to welcome to the stage, not just tonight's author, but my spiritual bestie, my Oshun sister, and my platonic life partner, Juju Bae. Y'all clap it up, put it in the comments. Go up, go up, go up, go. Yes! Thank you. Oh,
Hey,
you
y'all.
look stunning, Juju.
Thank you. You know, I had to look cute for y'all.
Babes, it's giving Juju pun the face.
You know, it's a little something slight. Thank you. Thank you.
It's giving author glow, best-selling author glow.
Period. Let's speak it, please.
and NPR. Juju, welcome to your virtual book release party. Congratulations, my love.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank all of y'all for joining me. I see you in the chat. I feel so overwhelmed and filled with so much love. And so like I'm just sitting in gratitude for the love. So thank you.
You are worthy, beloved. You already know that this has clearly been a long time coming because you've been in the doctoral programs. Okay, you're an alum of Spelman College. So the brain is big, babes. Well, why the Book of Juju now?
The Book of Juju is happening now and happened now because my ancestors said so. I feel like I've said this before. I never thought that I would be writing a book at this period. I knew that I would always write a book. I knew that what it would probably be about, but I didn't think it would be now, today, this time, because I always felt like books were for people who were just like grown and established and like they knew what they were talking about. And then I just kept getting approached by people saying like, hey, like publishers, like, hey, we think you know what you're talking about. Can you write a book? And I was like, me? And I think I had about I'm so blessed, honestly. I had about like 4 different publishers come to me and be like, we want you to write a book with us. And the last one, Sterling Publishing, who I went with, I was like, I think this might be time. So I found a book agent to like, go through the nuts and bolts. Shout out to Latoya, LCSW Literary Agency. And I was like, okay. So I was like, ancestors, y'all are sending me people. I must be grown enough to write a book. Okay. So I will write it about my work. I will write it about the things that I've talked about, which I had to be coached through. And you're one of the people that coached me, like, babe, you've already written the book. It's here, it's in the podcast, it's in your work. And so that's what I did. I wrote what I've been talking about since 2018 on the podcast and what I've been experiencing since then. And that was it. That's how it happened.
Babes, these are the same ancestors who told you to leave your doctoral program and to start your podcast. So it tracks.
Yep.
Tracks.
Yep.
And so you have been very clear that you channeled this, and we give you your props because you are the channel, you are the chosen one, you birthed this book, okay? But your ancestors wrote this through you. And so I know that you always want us to put ancestors first, period. Episode 1 of Little Juju Podcast, vintage, if you don't know, okay? Get in the vault. So what words would you like to ground us in?
Ooh.
Your ancestors are with
I
us
would
now.
love to ground us in chapter 1 of the Book of Juju. So if you have your books, you can pull it out,
Hey,
follow along.
it's giving hardcover. Okay, it's giving Mama, we made it. It's giving audiobook if you're an audio girly person, folk.
So
All
I
right,
want to
what
go
page?
to chapter 1, which is page 10. So I'm going to read not all of chapter 1, although it is a short chapter, but I'm going to read the first couple pages to ground you in the book. Okay, so chapter 1 is called Answering the Call. Every single person is called to their ancestors or ancestral practices in some way. Although not everyone is a psychic, conjure person, or priest, the ancestors move in all of our lives and seek to grow closer to us through the ways that work with each individual person. Everyday communion is a conversation with spirit. When the wind blows, it is spirit activating us and telling a story about the atmosphere in that moment. The waxing and waning of the moon is a story based on ancestral knowledge that has been passed down from ancient times that allows us to understand what actions are more or less beneficial during each phase. All of it is spirit. At this point, I've accepted the calling. If you're here, I'd bet that your ancestors have similar kinds of expectations of you. And you seem to have already listened to the calling in some way just by opening a book like this. Congratulations. Listening looks good on y'all. But I had no choice. By writing this book, I am obliging the directives of my own ancestors. And beyond that, I've learned way too much on my journey as a spiritualist to not share what has worked for me. The knowledge I'm sharing here is what encouraged me to be active in spiritual social media groups in the beginning of my Juju journey, starting with my show, A Little Juju Podcast, that uplifts African and African derived spiritual systems for Black people. This written offering is my own form of veneration and an archive of my personal and collective ancestral information. Their advice informs much of my own understanding of the world, its norms, and what we think are norms, but are actually just a bunch of bullshit. As many ancient religions teach us, proper ancestral veneration and communication is the anchor to a well adjusted and high functioning society. Now, I, as an American born Black person, would argue we ain't in that at all. The levels of violence, lack of community, extreme poverty, anti Blackness, and anti indigeneity we are currently experiencing as a society, anchored in Western culture, are indications of severe spiritual deprivation. This is not our fault, as so many of us are still trying to find our way, both as individuals and as a collective. But we have lost so many of the names of the deities who have historically protected us. We have been shunned from belief systems that encourage us to fight back, and instead are told to turn the other cheek. We've been trained to value individualism instead of the power of the collective. We have been taught that once our people are dead, they are just dead, and we have completely lost the power to connect or hear from them ever again. A lie. We have been taught that our ancient forms of Black ass spirituality, veneration, and medicine making were all bad juju, seeking to destroy our relationship to a one true God who would throw us in hell for having these beliefs. Another lie. This is a deliberate war on our spirits and intentional severance of the power of our collective ancestors. That severance from our spiritual medicine has done significant damage to the psyche. I call myself Juju or Juju Bay very intentionally. If you are unfamiliar with the term juju, it is often used to undermine and demonize the practice of African based religious practices. Colloquially, juju is understood as bad and evil magic conjured by ugly witches who seek to harm and even kill people through the use of spell work and other demonic supernatural forces. Juju can also be used to describe a form of magic that can control individuals, leaving them powerless and unable to do anything but submit to the control of whatever the witch chooses. What's funny about this definition is that I don't totally disagree. I think folks throughout the African diaspora either know or know of a story about someone who succumbed to the powers of a witch and suffered greatly for it. There are stories of intense curses that have ruined families and stories about men being bound to their partners non consensually because they were under a spell. All this and more is true. Juju can render harm because the Juju can render harm because Juju is an acknowledgement that each of us has the ability and power to control certain outcomes in our lives. However, the misrepresentation of Juju presents itself through the inaccurate representation that Juju is all bad. Juju is not bad or good. It just is. The juju itself is actually a neutral force whose use is at the discretion of the practitioner using it. In the same ways that juju has cursed family lines, that same juju has protected tribes, saved relationships, healed the sick, blessed homes, increased money flow, and welcomed babies into the world. Juju is our ancestral medicine, and only through the interruption of colonialism and Abrahamic tradition did we come to see juju as being inherently malevolent and against God. I use the term juju to embrace our ancestral understanding of duality and to help make sure that the concept of juju is accurately represented in the media. Hollywood depictions of voodoo and similar traditions have tainted the way Black folks engage with the practices that helped heal their ancestors through harmful stereotypes and a bunch of bullshit lies. I want to situate juju as something that is not only a vision of evil, but one of hope, freedom, healing, and love, because it is. In there.
The Book of Juju, Africana Spirituality for Healing, Liberation, and Self-Discovery, babes. So rich. I wrote on that page 12, a gospel, and I put TGATJ, the gospel according to Juju. Because in just that short amount, first of all, you're a stunning writer. We knew you had a way with words, but to see it on the page, gorgeous, gorgeous writing. You conjure communion, you conjure the moon, you conjure witchdom, and then you help us to see the connections with the colonial mindset and where you're taking us with liberation.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels very witchy to me. Yes. How did you grow into adopting the term witch?
It took time. I did not, even when I was early on in my practice, I did not always identify with the term witch because I didn't want to associate with the negative things that people think about when they hear the word witch, even though I knew that it had a deeper understanding and meaning than it did. I still didn't want to be a part of that. And in a lot of ways, I thought as a Black person that, witching, that wasn't for Black people. Like that's white people stuff. In my own journey, thinking like that's white people stuff. And I think the more as I decolonize myself, the more that I learn, the more that I've learned about ancestors, Black people who considered themselves witches. It's really, and embracing the term witch is really just acknowledging that I have and we have a certain level of power and that we can use and manipulate the energies around us by using that power. It's understanding the medicine that exists around us and being in good relationship with that medicine, whether that's the trees, the plants, the waters, the air. And that is what being a witch really is. And so I wanted to take back and reclaim that, not just as a practitioner, but also as a Black woman, that I can be a witch, which means that I can actually have power and that I can have control and I can be in good relationship to the things around me.
So good. And you're right that Hollywood depictions in media, I mean, even something as seemingly harmless as The Princess and the Frog, right? The Disney movie about one black princess, and they trying to show all kinds of figures and deities. And it's like, who told you that you could do this? So the
Mm-hmm.
fact that we're helping us to reclaim it, internalize it, and center ourselves in it, that helps me to realize that I too am a witch. Because here's the thing, the people, the women specifically, that they were calling witches were actually healers and were troublemakers and
Mm-hmm.
disruptors. And so, how do we demonize this population so that people won't listen to them, so that they'll, be insecure about their powers and their gifts? And so, for those of you listening and you're wondering what to identify as or how to label your gifts, I invite you to explore the language that Juju uses in the book and really sink into what feels good to you, because this book is ancestral medicine. So every time you like dig into the pages, consider yourself entering a portal, a womb, a cocoon, right? Where you get to identify within your bloodline and your lineage what's happening. So even you using the term witch in the very first chapter, I was like, oh, she coming out swinging.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. And not just that, because like you said, when we think of witches and like Halloween, we think of like the green lady with like the mole on her chin and the two
Yeah,
hairs coming out. But you put bad bitch in front of it.
and do.
So tell me about the bad bitch part. I mean, we clearly see it, but how do you infuse those two things together?
Well, actually, Juju Bay, that name came from a desire to, I don't say actively, I mean, I guess I was trying to push back on not just this image of witches either being white people, white women, or even green ladies with no big noses and a pimple. It was also a reclamation of, sometimes I think in the spiritual community, in the Black spiritual community, you think that you have to look like Erica Badu to be. Are we having issues with sound or video? Is everyone okay?
I'm
Okay.
checking. We just have a few people with technical stuff. You're good.
Okay.
Erica, you.
Yeah. So and I love my hair wraps. I love I love all of that and the incense. But sometimes I think that when certain people think that you have to be that in order to have a certain level of power, or in order to be a spiritual person, or in order to be a connected person, and you can be spiritual and have a 30-inch bust down middle part. You can be someone who wears lashes and has nails and has and who drinks and who smokes weed, a cigarette, whatever it is. Like, there's no aesthetic or look to what we have. And so I just always want to just be careful and tell other people to be careful of like suggesting that there's a certain look of a spiritual person, or there's a certain look of someone who gets it, and other people who are hood or whatever, they don't have access to that, and that's not true. And so that's why I even chose the name Juju Bay, because it's about the spiritual aspect, but it's about being a bay as well. And I might have the hair wrap, I might have natural, I might have a 30-inch bust down, and I still am doing the work. So yeah, that's how I kind
It's
of put all of that together.
it's giving both and then the last thing that I would love for you to touch on, considering what you just read, was about how colonizers and colonized thinking taught us not to fight back and to turn the other cheek, which is a direct quotation from the Bible, child, right? And so we all know you grew up in the Catholic Church, babes. So, how do you reconcile or evolve or tie together this understanding of ancestral medicine vis a vis your religious transformation?
The ancestral medicine really is infused in everything. So it's actually not completely divorced of Christianity if you have ancestors who were Christian, or it's not completely divorced from Islam if you have ancestors who were Muslim. I think we can see our ancestral medicine and magic everywhere, because regardless of what religion that we may identify as, you know, we are here because someone prayed us into existence or spoke over us or imagined us. And that spans across tradition, understanding, religion, whatever. And so there is a part of me that honors that lineage. There's a part of me that honors the ways that Catholicism, when it did at that time, protected me and supported me. And then it didn't. So like you move on. But I see that in all of the religions that I've been a part of and all of the church services that I've been to, they all inform me. They all inform my experience and so many of our experiences. And I talk about that a bit in the book, talking about being situated in Catholic school, being baptized in the Catholic Church, etc. So I think that this journey now is about, even though I don't identify as Christian, I haven't completely divorced myself from Christianity, probably because I can't. But two, um, I'm not interested in doing that. I use what I use as tools to support me and help me in the journey. And sometimes I still pull my Bible out because my grandmama told me to read, Psalms 144 in order to do this thing. And so I'll do that. But then there's a lot of parts that I know don't sit well with me and I don't agree with. And so I don't engage with those. So, I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, child. I am doing all the things. I'm getting
Okay. I, okay, if it works, babes. So you conjured your grandmother in Psalm 144. Would this be Grandma Elistine? Tell us about her.
So Grandma Elistine is she's still my best friend. When she was living, she was my best friend. And I think she's one of the people that really saw me for who I was, even when I didn't feel seen, or even when I didn't communicate to her fully who I was or what I was doing. She still saw me. And I think that she was such a pivotal part in how I understand spirit, outside of my mother. A big part of how I understand spirit, how I understand prayer, the power of prayer, the power of ancestry, keeping ancestors close. Like my grandmother was always someone who truly valued, like, my mother used to do this. You should know that. We
Mm.
are from this part of South Carolina. We are also from this part of West Africa. Because I remember, because my great great grandmama told me that we're from Guinea-Bissau. She was telling me that. She remember these things. And so she kind of taught me the importance of lineage and valuing that and caring about what your ancestors' sacrifices have been. And I refer to her a lot in this book. This book is dedicated to her. And she passed away in the middle, literally in the middle of me writing this book. And so I always think about how it changes from me saying, oh, my grandmother is to my grandmother was. And you can really feel that shift around maybe chapter 7-ish or maybe chapter 8. So yeah, the book is dedicated to her. I'm so honored that she, like I say in the dedication, she left me so that she could join me. And she truly did. She truly did do that. And I know that she left so that she could join and be a part of writing this book, because she also was a writer and she was an orator. So
And I would love to read your book dedication if that's okay with you. So it says, I often feel sad when I think about your leaving me while in the middle of writing this book. But then I remember that you left so that you could join me. This book is for you, my grandmommy, Dr. Elistine J. Grant. Because it's getting doctors in the lineage, okay?
she was a
Whether
doctor.
it's colonized, authorizing institution or not, it's giving Dr. Juju back. It's what it's giving. So thank you for conjuring her, and she's always with you and she's with us. But I think it's really interesting that she decided to return to the ancestral realm halfway through the book, because you have 15 chapters, an introduction and a conclusion. So we could say 17. So if she left around 7 or 8, child, she was like, okay, you done got the first half, babes. This next half, pass the baton. I got you. I'm running the race. So tell us about the arc of the book. I mean, 15 chapters? I feel like I would have made that 2 different books, but it's manageable, and not impactful, that's violent, and influential. So tell us about the arc of the book.
I kind of let the sirens go down there by me.
City.
So, so I start the book off talking about really who am I?
Mm-hmm.
What am I coming? What is the stuff that I'm bringing to this book? What is informing me? So I talk about my experience growing up Christian, Catholic, Baptist, Baha'i, all of the different religions and understandings that I carry with me. I walk the reader through, being I actually wrote this book before I was an Oshun priest, so I don't really talk much about that aspect because it's very different now because I did not have Oshun in the same way. But I talk about my practice venerating the Orisha and Ifa because I think that I have to situate folks and like where I'm coming from around this. And then I also talk about being a hoodoo and what that means for me and how hoodoo has always informed my life and something that I can never fully remove myself from. And then I really just wanted folks to like understand what ancestor veneration is. Who are the ancestors? What is their utility? What are we even talking about? Why does this even matter? And so I go through some of the historical understanding about ancestors, some examples from different religions, different traditions across the diaspora, and talking about how we all have engaged in ancestral veneration, whether we call it that or not, through through funerals, even funeral rites and rituals. That is a part of ancestral veneration. So we're always constantly doing it and engaging with the dead in some way. But then, towards the end, I talk about, okay, so what do we do with this information? Now that we know who the ancestors are, what rituals can we do to feel connected to them? What rituals can I do to increase prosperity in my life? What does this look like within my family? How do I find community? What is the importance of finding community? How do I find an elder? Why do elders matter? Um, I talk about grief, death, and dying. Obviously I had to do that because I was literally in the middle of grieving when I wrote that chapter. And so it's just talking about this large, I touch on like a lot of things, I feel like, but in a way that I think is digestible and hopefully easy to understand, because I wanted it to be an accessible text that answers the questions that I get so often. Like I hope that when people read this, they're like, dang, I've always wanted to ask her that. I'm so glad she talked about that in the book.
And speaking of questions, if you all are just percolating, something's bubbling up on the inside of you, please look to the right of the room chat. There is a question mark inside of a text box. That is where you can put your questions for Jujube, because we have about 13 minutes left in our conversation, and then we're going to have a Q&A. So if you feeling cute, you want to get on stage with us, babes, might be your time. So I'm so glad you said that, Juju, because I was taking notes while you were chatting, and I said, Juju, you contain multitudes, right? So it's not just the Oshun priestess and the Ifa practice and the hoodoo and the bad bitch witchness. It's also being, from a heritage that's Black American South, but also you talked about in a recent podcast episode, having connections to the Congo, right? We know you're a Yoruba baddie, right? You felt a connection to Trinidad, and then all of a sudden you was like, my granddaddy was Trinidad.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
like you hold the diaspora within you. So you do a fabulous job of integrating and synthesizing and giving us the bits and the pieces and the morsels so that we are activated and then invited to,
Yeah.
explore our journey and see where we land.
Yeah.
Because I wanna point out, okay, on page 81, and the ancestors are everywhere, babies, bones, and Bibles, you conjure Queen Nzinga.
I
And I'm on
did.
dad's side. And that's the name that I called in libation. So when I saw that, I was like, am I reading this right? So I feel seen just by your invitation to everything that is Black ass spirituality, which is in
Yeah.
essence African. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's a gift. And thank you for the format of the chapters as well, because you give us information down, honey. It's giving lecture, okay? It's giving master classes colonized. It's giving expertise
Mhm.
class, okay? But it's also giving practical application. It's giving prompts. It's giving journal. It's giving access your power. Why was that so important to you to offer us these kinds
Yeah.
of guided activities?
Yeah. So again, I wanted to situate people in, yes, my own story. I'm kind of giving a piece of memoir in there. And then I wanted to situate it in history. So what are some examples? Like, let's talk about Queen Nzinga, what she was doing, why that mattered, why she matters to us. And other examples as well throughout the diaspora. But then, I wanted it to be, like you said, practical. I wanted people to read it and be able to have a prompt that says, how do you feel about this? Do you agree about, there's a chapter where I talk about people doing social justice work, and how that can inform spirituality. And I'm asking people, when I'm done talking about that, what do you think? Do you think that your spiritual practice should help address social issues? Do you think that your spiritual practice should help address the ills in the world? Why not? Does yours? Because so I always want the reader to be able to check back in with themselves about not just listening to what I'm saying, like, you can hear me, but then what do you think? Or how is your ancestor guiding you through this text? Is that
Mm.
sitting with you? Is something else coming up for you? So I didn't want to come to this book as like, I feel like you may push back on me with this, but I didn't want to come to it as an expert. I wanted to be someone who is triggering something. It isn't about me telling you what to do and then you do that, but it's about me helping people make observations for themselves and then making decisions for themselves and feeling empowered in their own practice and their own journey.
You're absolutely right. And two truths can be true at the same time. You are the expert, babe, right? But it's a very liberated, African-centered approach, right? As African-descended people, we're about nature, ritual, and community. And so you call us into that and you say, here is my wisdom, because, babes, we've been doing the work. It ain't just the degrees. Okay, it's the healing, it's the yeses, it's the sacrifice, it's the taboos, and y'all, what y'all see is not even culmination, today's expression of all of Juju's dedication to her calling. In the intro, she was like, I had no choice. Like, you might be here because you're curious, babes. I have to be here. So we trust you, and thank you for empowering us, not just with your words and your essence and your ashe, but with your being. Like, you being confident and bold and purposeful inspires us to be bold and confident and purposeful, because we get what we need. I didn't take a spiritual bath until I started listening to a Little Juju podcast. And the first time I took it, I had an ancestral spirit visit me. And it was in that basement in Atlanta, Georgia, that basement apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And you doing you is helping us to do us, so that we can all do each other together, not sexually. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying spiritually. They be like, is this Juju after dark? What is going on? Okay, so two hands to heaven. So listen, Zena Ellison said, I just went and bought the book because Lyvonne is making me want to stay up all night and finish. Also, shout out to Juju for always making things accessible and for the people. I just bought the book. I can't wait to read. First of all, I love that y'all here. You didn't have the book, but please get the book. Okay. So this is my first copy. This is the one that got the notes, you know what I'm saying, and the margins and whatnot. Then we're going to have one for display purposes, because we're going to talk about the cover in a second, right? And then I have to have another one that's giftable at a moment's notice. So I got to have at least. So y'all make sure you get your book. This is going to be great for birthdays, for Kwanzaa, for Labor Day,
stocking stuffers,
for Wednesdays, stocking stuffers. Do it. Talk to us about this art, babes. This cover.
The cover is gorgeous. The cover is gorgeous. The cover is done by Diana. I want to say Ejata is their last name, and actually my publishers found Diana, but she's done a lot of work she's done different things with the New York Times, like a pretty established, well-known author and artist. And so when they came across my desk, like, okay, how are you feeling about, Diana's work? I was like, I'm familiar with who Diana Ejata is. So I talked to them about my concept, what I wanted folks to feel and connect with. And they went and did their art and came back and was like, what do you think about this? I said, this is it. So we have the
first take, one take.
I mean, there were some different changes with colors and maybe what was placed where, but for the most part, this actually no, Diana sent over maybe like 6 sketches of different
Okay.
ones. They all had a similar feel, but they were a little bit different. And I was like, I think it's this one. And my publishers were like, yeah, we think it's this
So
one.
why this one out of the options?
I don't know. It was really a feeling. Um,
That's a knowing.
yeah, it was just like this is the
This is
one. It was
it.
the one that I felt most called to. I love the purple energy. It feels very like you don't like it feels like very mysterious, but also I think that it triggers something ancestral when you look at it. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels like it looks like this person knows what they're talking about in the book. The covers are very important. So that's what it made me feel.
And I feel like ultimately you be telling us, child, listen to your ancestors, go to your altar. Like you're like, read the book, but also be
Ask
at
your
your altar.
people.
So purple is a very royal color. It's a very
Yep.
luscious color. If you subscribe to any sort of yogi thought, it represents the crown chakra, which is like your spirituality, your spiritual access. So that tracks. And then walk us through some of the items here. So obviously, this is our practitioner. What
Mhm.
do we have on the altars? What are these shrine? What are these?
Yeah, so this is a representation of an altar. And we have this image of life. So we have a plant here. We've got a candle, which is something that I love to have on my own personal altars and recommend that people have because fire is such an important element to spirit. And we have a doll. So there's some people, work with dolls in their spiritual practices. We know the traditional like voodoo dolls or voodoo dolls. They don't always represent what we think, but like dolls can be very important in a practice. We have a chalice here, which is probably filled with, our water or whatever libation that we're offering our ancestors. We have bottles that could be filled with other drinks and liquors and things for them as
Mm-hmm.
well. We got some shells. I actually love picking up shells. My ancestors love shells. We can read with shells and working with shells. We have our
Mm-hmm.
incense to represent the element of air. I think we have all the elements
Yeah.
on the altar. We have like a little formation here. Somebody said this looked like Donald Trump on Twitter,
I'm
but
screaming.
I was like, now why would you bring that energy? But also kind of.
My therapist says, honestly, truly, like 45 took on a role that nobody else wanted to take on because he caused us to see what this country really is. Like, it's undeniable. We knew. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're not gonna claim that, but we are gonna claim the crumbling of whatever 45 got
Of
going
the
on.
empire.
Period. Remy Dubose said, I got 4 copies of your book. I'm handing them out like bean pies. That's what made me burst out laughing just now. And Julie, hey, Julie. The cover is giving Africana Studies textbook and is because it is. Babes, this is going to be on syllabi. Okay. It's going to be in community centers. Okay. It's going to be in e-lays. It's going to be in churches. Okay. It's
Ooh.
going to be on altars. It's going to be in the prisons that we trying to abolish. Is going to be in their libraries.
Ooh. And I do want to say that I've been encouraging people to request the Book of Juju at your local library. Of course, we want to support our local bookstores. I know some people have bought in various places, but supporting bookstores, but also libraries are such an accessible place for people who may not even know about the Book of Juju or may not even know about this kind of work to even go into the bookstore to buy it. But there's so many different folks that go into the libraries and are constantly looking there. So I also want it to be, because it's such an accessible text, I think I want it to be in accessible places. Like
I love
library.
that. And so as we close out our, two-part key, you mentioned that we can request the book at our local bookstores, libraries, even. What else can we do to support you? Because the book writing process, I coach writers, and I'm like, writing the book is just the tip of the iceberg, babes. You gotta sell it. All right. So what else is what surprised you about the book process? What do we need to know from here
Yeah.
on out? Like after tonight, what do we need to do to support you?
Yeah, like you said, writing the book is like, okay, great, a wonderful feat. But really, when we get down to the nitty gritty nuts and bolts, it is about selling the book. It's about making sure that people know about the book. And, much love to my publishing company and everything. But I think a lot of writers will tell you, especially a lot of Black women writers, will say that you are really doing the work on your own to get your book
Mhm.
out into the world. Like it is your responsibility to sell the book. It is your responsibility to, if you take it on tour, that's on you. Like a lot of this is on the labor of the author. And so
Mhm.
I want to keep saying this over and over again, because as much as I would love to travel everywhere, and everyone's like, "You not coming to Seattle? Why you not coming to Oakland? Why you not coming?" It's not that I don't want to. It's
Right.
that this is not a music tour. People aren't coming to buy tickets and it's coming to me. Like book tours are funded by the author.
Say that
And
again. Say that again, please.
book tours are funded by the author. And in my case, I'm not paid to, no one's flying me out. I'm not paid to put on a book
Yet.
tour.
Yet.
Yeah. Well, the university, which is also why I wanted it to be in universities, because universities do have money. So I love when the universities reach out and want me to speak there, because they'll have a coin. But everywhere else, smaller bookstores, this is a labor of love. This is me selling my book because I believe in the book. And so if you sharing it, when you have it, posting it, telling your friends, stocking stuffers, requesting it at your local bookstore, coming out to the locations that I have. I'm going to be in Chicago in July. I'm going to be in LA on Thursday. So tell your friends in LA if someone can come to support the talk. Like that helps me, that helps get my name out there, that helps get the information and the work out there, which is actually the most important. Because yes, I do want to sell the book, obviously, but I want people to know what's in this book, because I
Mhm.
know how some of the things that I've shared have completely changed my life. And so I'm offering some of that medicine to other people, and really my ancestors are offering that medicine to other people. And so I want to make sure that we all get it. We get
That's
it.
it, and we all deserve it. And so, before we transition to our Q&A, I want to close this out with words from Juju Bay from page 121. Go back and fetch it is the title of the chapter. Juju Bay says, in order to address the plausible causes of suffering on earth, we must address the causes of suffering in the spiritual realm. Again, our connection to ancestors provides a path to answers. So we got a path, y'all. Let's walk, not to be ableist. Let's take the path together and see what we gonna see on the other side. All right, I am going to invite some folks to come up, as we have time for maybe 3 questions. So let's see. Oh, you know what, Matea, do you want to come on stage to ask your question?
I would love for some folks to come on stage.
If you consent, Matea, I would love for you to be on camera, but if you don't want to be on camera, you don't have to be on camera. But I would love for you to come up and ask your question, because we didn't talk about recording the audiobook and I want to talk about it. So I think I'm going to click start answering. And then if we could bring Matea up, I don't know if I can do that. Oh, wait, I think I can. Oh, wait, I can.
The main stage.
I'm doing it right now. I just invited Matea to main stage.
I think I heard Matea. We're just waiting for you to pop up on our screen.
No, I thought I heard too.
I know, I heard you, Matea. Okay. When Matea comes, we gonna let her have some words. But Matea said, with recording the audiobook, did you have any different understandings or experiences engaging with your book this way versus writing it?
Yes, that's such a great question. So I recorded the audiobook. It's not out yet. It will be out soon. They're still editing it. But I recorded the audiobook a couple weeks ago. I actually have to go in tomorrow and do some pickup lines. But yeah, there was a lot of different understandings, because it was my first time really reading it back in like a concise, a concise way. Like I'm looking at my own words. I have to like read it out loud at the same time. And so, excuse me. know if I had any different understandings, but I think I just remembered what I wrote because I feel like I wrote this book so long ago. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I did say that. Or like, oh, I really made this strong claim here in this particular way. Like, wow. So I think it's interesting also how far I've grown since writing the book. Like I still believe everything that I've said, of course, but I think that there's some other nuances and other understandings that I've been thinking about more recently that I guess it's going to be book two, and things that maybe I didn't address as much now. So yeah, there were some different experiences. There were some like, oh my God, I said that. But also like, oh, how do I feel about that? How does that land with me now? So yeah, I always think about it as like an archive of that moment in time where I was when I wrote the book.
I love it. And also, just so you know, Matea is actually your friend Keys.
Oh,
let's see. I saw one that I think would be really okay. Naima. Naima, do you want to come on stage? I'm going to invite you. And we'll see. Y'all being shy. This is your chance. Okay? The question is bubbling up. All right, Naima. Any advice for people who don't have any family that practices African religion and feeling like you need an invitation guide or permission to start?
Thank you for this question. I actually answered this in the book because I know a lot of folks are constantly, our relationship to family varies and it shifts and it changes, and that's just real. And so I acknowledge within the book that not everyone, we don't live in communes anymore. Some of us don't. We don't live in communes. We may not live near our family. We may not even like half our family. Like these are all very real experiences that we have. And, I think that your ancestral relationship is one, yes, it involves community, but it's also very personal and it's very singular and it's yours. And so you don't need permission to engage with your ancestors. You are your ancestors. You are a compilation of your ancestors. That is why you look how you look, because that means you look like a bunch of people who are living and dead. That is how you have your personality, because you have a personality of a bunch of people who are living and dead. So you don't need any permission besides existing to connect with that. And that, full stop. Now, of course, we want to ask Meemaw about what they used to do and do you do this? That actually might not be for everybody. That can happen in time, but I would actually encourage folks to just start within yourself and doing your work and going straight to source and not necessarily feeling like you need your family to affirm or tell you that you're doing the right thing, because if you feel the calling, you're already doing the right thing. But yeah, this is definitely something that is addressed in the book, because I know that this is a question a lot of people have. So thank you for asking.
Thank you, Naima. Taish's question. Oh, wait. I'm seeing a different question on screen. So Naima. Okay, yeah, because Naima had a question answered already. Let's do.
Is anyone gonna come up?
People being shy, child.
Is it like they can reject it? Is that what's happening?
Here we go. You send the invitation, but I don't know if people are getting the invitation or if they're not camera ready or don't think they're camera ready. You camera ready, babes, by being here.
Or you don't have to be on camera. You can just speak. Turn the camera
on. Were there any insights from spirit / your ancestors that surprised you or you felt like you learned as you wrote the book?
Were there any that surprised me? I don't know if I was surprised. There were some things that I remember, and I don't remember the exact examples, but there were things that when you're writing a book, you have to really contend with the things that are up here. Like, or maybe I talked to him with a homegirl, but then when you write it out on a piece of paper or on a laptop, you're like, oh, that's what I think. Okay. Or like, that's what an ancestor thinks. So like, I'm that's it on the paper. What do I feel about that while it is out on the paper? So I don't know if I felt like I was surprised, but I did learn as I was writing the book, because so much stuff was just in my crown, and then it became like a physical material thing, and then I had to sit with that physical material thing, and that's kind of how I felt reading the audiobook. Like I had to sit with like my thoughts being out in the world and being received. So I don't remember the specific things that I learned in that moment, but yes, there were insights in
it. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so I was laughing because somebody, Nikki R in the comments was like, I'm wearing a bonnet. And so I'm like,
exactly.
here's the thing. I know the question box is for questions, but if there is one of you who wants to come on stage and bless Juju, give gratitude, she is really excited to like share space with y'all. We're doing this virtual book release party because, like she said, these tours are self-funded, and we don't want anyone to miss out on the opportunity to give thanks for this beautiful offering. And so even if you don't have a question, if you do have a blessing or a word of thanks, I want to invite you to the stage. Because Juju has been excited about seeing somebody else on stage. Okay. I mean, she's happy to see me clearly, but she want to see one of y'all too.
I do.
Okay. So I love this question. Julie. Okay. Julie is one of my community members. Will there be a Patreon book club to go through the entire text together?
Yeah, sure. There can be. Now, I'm sitting with me facilitating it in some ways. I think my presence, it's not that I don't want to be a part of it, but I don't know. I kind of like, I don't want to be an influence. Like I kind of want to, I wish I could participate as a participant more so than like the writer of the book. So I've been thinking through what I want to do on Patreon around the book. It will be something, but I don't know if I want to do, or I don't know. Maybe.
DVD. DVD. But just know Julie gonna be there. Okay.
Period.
my yoga practitioner, my therapist, clinically formally trained, lives in Rhode Island. I think came to your Brown talk. So come on. We got an internet cousin who about to come on stage. Let me
I know I saw the request come in.
Let's go ahead and bring up Kiss My Ashe.
Period.
I am available for the conversations. And if you're seeing this and you're feeling like I could host the Book of Juju book club, babes, please do, right? And especially if it's virtual, you can bring together a lot of community members because like Juju says, we have wisdom ourselves, and she is helping us to, feel confident about that. So
hey y'all.
Hey boo.
Hey cousins, Juju, I'm so happy and proud of you. Lyvonne, you're looking good as always. I just wanted to come in here really, really quick and just say what I know everybody is saying and thinking and just might be too scared to say. Girl, thank you for meeting us wherever we were. I don't know where everybody else was, but I can just tell you really quick on my journey. Somebody just told me, was like, hey, why don't you check this out? I said, well, let me give it a try. Fresh out the church, just knew it wasn't working for me. And as y'all both know, and I've said before, I have come to realize churchy is my conjure from listening to a Little Juju podcast. Yeah. Having those tough conversations that you shared with us, shared your journey along the way, open your door, your mind, your heart, your spirit, your soul to all of us, allowed us to heal, not just through the pandemic, before, during, and after. I can say for me, when you starting off on this journey, everybody wants everything to be cookie cutter, right? Like, I just need one good source that I can go to. I could, where can I find everything? Juju, you've done it. You've put off every book that you've had in your book club, anything that you wanted to read. Hey, y'all, buy this for me. While you were growing your book collection. So we read together. We've learned together. And now I'm just so happy that this is part of the club. This is part of the conversation. This is part of, hey, girl, let me give you something. I know somebody that knows something. And let me, hopefully this will bless you, because just how we've all been blessed, there's going to be somebody else coming up and behind us, somebody who needs to hear this. And I just want to say thank you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. Girl, how many Black girls do you know from Baltimore that could say that they did this? To do this. Girl, you are that bad bitch witch, okay? I love y'all. Thank you for
I love
having me. Of
you.
And the
course.
lights are flourishing, honey. Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Looking great.
Love y'all. Love y'all. Stay
I love you
blessed
so
up.
much. Thank you.
All right, Tiana.
Hi. I just really wanted to get on here and just say thank you so much, Juju. Your work, your podcast, everything you have done. I've been following you for so long, and it has been so essential to my spiritual journey. Like, you don't know. I got into hoodoo like years ago, and I had no guidance, no one, because my family and everything, they don't do that. We're Christians. So um I just really wanted to say thank you so much. You have been so important to me, and I I honestly am grateful for you, and I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I
And
appreciate it. I'm virtually silent.
Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you so much, Deanna. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, Juju, do you feel loved?
I do. I really do feel the love. I really do. I was talking to my spirits today, and I said, I'm just so grateful because I am in a prayer right now. Like this moment, like I am existing in one of my prayers. And so I'm just carrying that with me throughout this whole process. Like, wow, thank you. I'm in a prayer. Like I am in the prayer right now. I'm in it. So
well, luxuriate in it, savor in it. If people come up to you talking about what's next, punch them in the throat. No, don't do that. I'm just joking. But like, really, if you got one book, you have more. We know there's more to come, but we celebrate the Book of Juju. We celebrate the best-selling debut book. We celebrate the creator. We celebrate the practitioner, the bad bitch witch, my spiritual bestie. We celebrate you. We love you. We are proud of you. Oludumare is proud. Okun is proud. Your ancestors are proud. We are proud, and we love you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lyvonne. I love you. I wouldn't be here doing anything without you. You always show up for me and come through for me for anything and everything. So I'm just very, very grateful for you. This book is a part of you too. Like you inspired me. You wrote a book first, and I didn't know what I was doing, and you showed me that it was possible for me to actually say something as well through your work and through your book. So I just thank you for that. Thank you to everyone who came. Thank you to Domino Sound, Kenny and Alex.
Thanks, Domino Sound.
They got us together on Crowdcast. This is real cute. This is real different. This is real exclusive. So shout out for getting us situated. And just, I hope everyone who is here just thank you so much for pouring into me and seeing my ancestors and accepting me through all the ways that I have showed up throughout this journey and supporting me. Get the Book of Juju. Tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell your cousins, tell your little sis, tell your bestie, tell your enemies. To get the book.
I'm person.
All you need is a little Juju. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We love you. Be who you are for your pride.
Wait. Be who you are for your pride.
Good night, everyone.
Shout out to
all you need is a little juju. All you need is all you need. All you need is a little juju. All you need is a little juju. All you need is a little juju. All you need is all you need. A little juju is together. It's how you play. I'm sorry, no story. And I never do play. I take the photo with the bread. just make up the costume spray, just over the country fair, to make it sad. I'm baby, so the hell of a bigger with my baby. I'm not princess to baby, so I'm giving everything to baby. So thank you, stop. Thank you, crack some things to run it, but I'm on the path. I feel it's so shaking, I'll never come down. A little bit with my baby. A little bit got me got it something crazy. A little urban, little booger than I'm wavy. And it's amazing how it saved me. A little bit with my baby. A little bit got me got it something crazy. A little voodoo, that's the 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 voodoo. There's a whole side. I felt the magic was a side. There's a whole side. I felt the magic was a side. There's a whole side. I felt the magic was a side. There's a whole side. That's the voodoo. 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 Your attention is popular. That's the voodoo. That's the voodoo. That's the voodoo. And all you need is a little voodoo.